Hello again, all my brothers and sisters, on our flat, domed, stationary earth. And you knew I was going to say that, because I always do. Well, this video is about the seasons and how they're always right on schedule all the time.
Everyone, meet Frankie and his channel, FrankieBflat. He posts semi-erratically, but never really fails to bring home the bacon in terms of his lack of knowledge. None of that Canadian bacon shit either. That's called ham. Someone at the plant thought that they were going to switch the packaging and we wouldn't notice. This is bacon. I digress. Today we're going to quickly talk about the seasons, the Gregorian calendar, how these are related, and explain to Frankie why he should do some research before proving to us that his brain is actually what's flat and domed. And an added note, I do intend to do more than flat earth videos, but currently there's a lot of low-hanging fruit, and this topic seemed fitting with New Year's upon us. Let's get started.
Well, last night I was driving my mom home from the store, and it was like 6:45 my time here in Arizona. And I told my mom, I said, the temperature in the car is under 100 degrees. We haven't seen that in a long, long time. And actually, it's getting dark out. And she's like, yeah, in New York, it's dark right now. I said, yes, I know. It's 3 hours difference.
Was it just me, or did anyone else sense some tension in the situation he's describing? I actually get the feeling this is a common theme in his family communication. Especially once I found this.
I said, water finds its level. And he goes, no, I see a curve. I said, yeah, my curve, but
in the water that
when it
turn
settles,
the friggin'
it
frogs
always
gay.
finds its level.
Do you understand that?
Fact, my grandson. And after I was saying that to him, and I told him, and that's one of the reasons, one of the proofs that our earth is flat. And right away he's like, no, Papa, no, Papa. I said, yes, that's one of the proofs. There's over 200. Then my daughter turned the corner from upstairs, and she goes, what are you talking about? What are you doing? And so I told my grandson that water always finds its level, and that's one of the proofs that the earth is flat. And right away she goes, stop talking about that to him.
I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall during that lovely family get-together. What was that? Really? I'm actually being told we have footage of this exchange. We should get back to the main course.
But I told the reason why is because it was September 21st, first day of fall, and in our Bible, there's over like 31 verses that talks about, well, especially even in Genesis, it'll talk about there's a time for seeding, planting, and a time for harvesting, and there's seasons, the hot season and the cold season, and it will never cease, never end.
This is common amongst flatters. They tend to be religious, and while I don't want to out and out knock religion, the correlation must be noted here. He's doing the simple math and equating a book written in the Bronze Age with fact-based science. The other issue is he's assuming everything is the way it is because the good book says it's that way. But if you were writing the world's most successful based on a true story novel, then wouldn't you want your observable reality to match your story? Nothing here shocks me.
And I told my mother, it's not because these weathermen are so smart. It's because it's God's clock.
Frankie, your understanding of who's responsible for what is already scaring me. Since when did meteorologists claim that they're responsible for the seasons? And besides, this is going to sound weird, Frankie, but guess what? I agree with you. Behold, God's clock. Wasn't that cute with the little orbiting planets for time hands?
And she's like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, the sun and the moon spiral in and out. That's how we get our seasons. It's not what NASA says, that we're living on a spinning ball, turning, they say what, 12,000 turns per second.
Okay, I can't take it already. That statement hurt my mind. I get that you're simply firing from the hip and so your numbers may be a bit off, and I'll grant you that leeway, but if you're on a sphere and the sun only comes up and goes down once in a day in your observable world, even if you didn't believe it to be true, it should have been easy for you to figure out that that statement was stupid. Earth will rotate once per day, one full rotation. I'm going to cut you some slack though, because I think I know what you were aiming for. Earth's rotation speed is what you wanted, and it's 460 meters per second. Oh, wait. Imperial. Roughly 1,000 miles per hour.
Canadians are always dreaming up a lot of ways to ruin our lives. The metric system, for the love of God.
And then flying through space at 66.6 million miles per hour. When I said that to my mother, it sounded so idiotic. And I said, that's what we've been taught forever. But it has nothing to do with that whatsoever. And she's like, what do you mean again? I said, well, think about it, Ma. If we're going at that speed and the whole solar system is with us, following us, with the sun, going around the sun, and they say the solar system is millions and millions of years old. We don't know, I don't know, but that's what they say. So you're trying to tell me that after all those millions of billions of years that we never went off course a little bit, or maybe spring became later, or winter came earlier? I said, that has never happened. That's really hard to believe, isn't it, Ma? And she goes, well, when I think about it, she goes, yeah, you're right.
Ah, yes. Gather all, for it is now that we reach the meat and potatoes of stupid. Before I fucking berate you now for your lack of knowledge in something you claim to be so devout in, I'm going to first touch on a couple points. There was a time before us that the seasons were different. There's evidence that polar shifts have taken place. We can find evidence of tropical plants in Antarctica. It's safe to say that your first question is making the assumption someone was out here to give a fuck what the season was. Nope, just a bunch of scaly lizard monsters hell-bent on eating each other. Now we need to discuss this bullshit about the seasons not getting out of kilter. They did get out of kilter. The reason this makes me a bit pissy is that this is your religion, Frankie, not mine. I don't have a pope, you do. So the fact is that the current calendar is also known as the Gregorian calendar, named after Pope Gregory the 13th.
Well, who invented the calendar we all currently use in modern society? It's called the Gregorian calendar. It was invented by the Catholic Church, by Jesuit priests in the 1580s, assigned by Pope Gregory to fix the problems in the calendar. The Julian calendar, put forth in ancient Rome, had one modification to previous calendars. It had a leap day. Okay? It had a leap day. And okay, leap day is how often? Every 4 years. This was good. Because what are we trying to track? The Earth goes around the sun. And so we say, all right, how long does that take? Well, it takes a year. But it turns out we're not actually tracking how long it takes Earth to go around the sun. We're tracking how long it takes Earth to repeat its seasons. And the year that corresponds to our seasons is slightly different from the year that corresponds to how long it takes to go around the sun. Slightly different. And that difference was not recognized in the early calendars. And that difference accumulated so that by the year 1584, the vernal equinox, the first day of spring, did not occur on March 21st. It occurred on March 10th. It shifted from the calendar date. That's what happens if you don't match the cycles of things. And the Pope said, we're not having any of this, especially since Easter might land on Passover, and we're trying to distinguish ourselves mightily from the Jews, so let's fix this. The Jesuit priests got to study this. They looked at the cycles of the heavens, the sun, the moon, the stars, and they came up with a new calendar, the Gregorian calendar, a modification to the Julian calendar. You know what they had to do? To invoke it, they had to take 10 days out of the calendar. To jumpstart, to put the first day of spring back on March 21st. And this happened in October 1584. Point is, this was hard-earned, and the whole world uses this calendar. It is the most accurate calendar ever devised.
Is
okay?
it?
Yes, I'll tell you what. Okay, you asked. So watch what happens. The leap day overcorrected the calendar. It overcorrected it.
Overcorrect.
Yes. Yes.
So you need a leap year.
So, no, sorry, the leap day is every 4 years. That one day every 4 years was slowly putting too many days moments into the year, okay? The Gregorian calendar figured this out, and it had put 10 extra days since the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar. 10 extra days. First, jumpstart, get rid of the 10 days. Now everything's lined up again.
Okay.
Now, how do you prevent this from happening again? Because it overcorrects, how long do you have to wait to remove a leap day that you would otherwise put in? Okay?
Okay.
That's every 100 years.
Oh.
So every 100 years, that would be a leap day, you remove the leap day. Now, it turns out that undercorrects it by an even smaller amount, okay? So, how long do you have to wait before you have to put a leap day back in? Every 400 years.
Oh, God.
So, the year 2000 was a century year, which normally would not have a leap day, except it's a century year evenly divisible by 400, so they put the leap day back in. And everybody on almost everybody except the astronomers, on February 29th in the year 2000 said it's just a leap year because it's divisible by 4. No, it is a rare leap year. It is a century year divisible by 400. That corrects it back, and so now you have a stable calendar for tens of thousands of years.
But then she said, well, you know, your grandfather said he wishes he was, he was born 50 years too late, because he said that the seasons will change. And I told my mother, I said, well, Grandpa was right, but he didn't know about the chemtrails and the weather modification, what's going on the flat earth with that, trying to rule the weather. But Grandpa was right, he had a hunch.
Oh, for fuck's sakes, he's a chemtrailer too. Frankie, we're running out of time here, so I'll let that one slide for today.
So, I just wanted to put that out there, because we've been brainwashed forever and ever. And same thing with sunrise and sunset. You hear it all the time, constantly, right? You always hear, oh, the sun's rising, the sun's setting. And I always say it, even if it's on TV, I always got to say it. I said, the sun does not rise or set. It moves toward us or away from us, from our point of view. I'm constantly saying that.
Why the sky is blue, why we see the different colors when the sun is setting. Well,
Sun
let's first
does
look at this
not
gorgeous
rise or
picture
set.
taken by Rick Furmanek on a sunset in
Sun
Golden
does
Canyon,
not rise
Arizona
or set.
last week.
It moves
Did you know
toward
you can
us
get paid
or
to take
away
pictures of
from
pretty
us.
sunsets this summer?
All right, thanks to Days In by Wyndham, people have the chance to get paid for taking pictures through what they're calling their summer sunturnship.
I'm constantly saying that, so my kids and my grandkids understand that, especially my youngest son. He's not too keen on what I'm trying to talk about and trying to wake up people. So anyway, hope all is well with everybody. And like I always say, all things must pass till our Lord appears.